Welcome, everyone, to the Beer and Skittles podcast, Depths of Pop Culture. On this episode, I want to take us into arguably one of the greatest video game series ever made, Assassin's Creed. Assassin's Creed turned 15 years old this year, and we just got some major announcements from Ubisoft about the future of this franchise.
Yeah, I mean, you had a franchise that came out and started so strong
Yeah.
with Altair. An
Yeah.
amazing game. It was taking people by storm, and you'd think, where do you go from there? And it was just up because after that, you get the Ezio trilogy, which, if you count it on its own, is possibly
Fantastic.
the best game trilogy. There's not a
Yeah.
bad game for Ezio trilogy. Just through and through. Ezio was a great story. There was so much heart, emotion. You followed a man throughout his entire life over three
That's the part.
games.
That's the part right there for Ezio. And I think there's a reason why Ezio is such a fan favorite because you've literally played through him watching his family get murdered, seeing that to becoming, you know, master assassin, the grand master, and just his story is so
Yeah.
good.
And the foresight there for the creators has to be amazing because it's
Yeah.
so easy after you started with one assassin to just move to a second one, to move, then a third one. No, they said we're going to start with him. We're going to give him another one and another
Another
one.
one.
And then they realized when it was supposed to end,
Yeah.
when Ezio's story was over.
We've talked about that just generally with like television, like knowing when to end a story is just as important as knowing how to start. And if you can tell a good ending, your middle can be a little you can have some, you know, minor things that are just not all there or all right, which I'd say, out of that trilogy, Brotherhood is the weakest link there, but
Which still isn't bad
it's
at
still not
all.
bad, but you then get a great ending where especially Revelations tying it all back in to Altair, going
Oh
back to
yeah,
where we
when
started.
you get all those flashbacks back to Altair, and you get to play through him and all his memories and stuff like that as
Yeah.
well. It
His
was a,
final moments and
oh yeah,
yeah.
it was amazing. And what's even better is, I mean, we're here raving about the Ezio trilogy, but I don't think either of our favorite games were from the Ezio trilogy. So
Nope.
to even go through such an amazing series so far. You're 4 games deep. You spent 3 games on the same character. Those games were known to be legendary. Again, possibly the best that has ever been created for a trilogy. And then you go up because I know personally my favorite game is Assassin's Creed 3. I love that you come in playing as Connor's dad, thinking this is the assassin, whatever, just to find out it's not him. You actually
It,
get Connor, the
and
Native
I will
American.
say not it's not my favorite. It's just such a great game. And it's not my favorite in the series, but Assassin's Creed 3 has the best intro in my opinion to the
Oh,
series.
because you get in there and you think you're already your character,
Yeah.
and they just do a full twist on you. And they took a much different route. I mean, they started out in Europe. Ezio was all throughout Italy and Altair over in Rome and stuff like that. So then you get the colonization of America, and you think you're gonna get this colonizer being your protagonist when in the end he's your antagonist. So you start out playing your villain, which is
Yeah.
amazing, and then you get Connor, and you start out with Connor as a child, um, and you see him grow up all the way through, which is fantastic. I love the gameplay. I love the world building they did there. Um, just so much that was in there when it came to the colonization of America. You go through all the Native American reservations and just to go through the colonies and all that. Also, it was insane at the end of that game because of all of the all of the British soldiers that they had posted up in those towns. At the end of the game, when you were wanted, you could not set foot anywhere
Yeah.
without having to do an entire brawl with the whole town, which was annoying in the moment, but it caused for some great gameplay and some cool fight sequences to come out of it.
And I think, one of the great things that the teams at Ubisoft have been able to do with these games is really telling all sides of these stories in history. I mean, look, you're playing Assassin's Creed 3 from the perspective of a Native American character. His perspective and his entire tribe's perspective of the American Revolution and what's happening is totally different from what we are taught in our history books because, the patriotism of it all. And we have to be, but there was a lot of atrocities that happened from both sides. And
Mm,
you get to play as a character that isn't really on either side here, is
yeah.
just trying to survive. And it teaches you a lot. And it's it's great storytelling.
And I that's what many people love about Assassin's Creed. Not only do you get great storytelling, but you also get that the historical accuracy. You get real
Yeah.
historical figures. Obviously, a lot of them have twists on them where they might be assassins and such, but
Yep.
at the end, and honestly, some of it's not even that far fetched when you think about them being
No,
in secret societies and stuff like that.
it's really not.
It's really not that far fetched. Um, so I guess and same thing. I don't know if any of you guys watched the Percy Jackson episode, uh, but we talked about how, oh, I went into class knowing things about the Greek gods. I went into class knowing so much more from playing Assassin's Creed.
Yeah, no, I went in and I could walk you around Italy I've never been.
Yeah.
Um, and there is, and one of the great things too is that each game was, and even in the Ezio trilogy, it's a different part of the world and it's a different time period. Because even if you set, the Ezio trilogy, a lot of it takes place in Italy, but even it's set across different parts of his life, and Italy isn't the same throughout the entirety of the world history,
Yeah.
so you get Altair's story during the Crusades in the Middle East and that, and you get, you know Italy and the Pope and Altair taking on the Pope and the Borgias and all of that, and the American Revolution. You get into the French Revolution. We have pirates, which, Black Flag for me,
Yeah,
it
that's
takes
your favorite game.
it takes one of the greatest aspects of Assassin's Creed 3, and I was like, let's make this a full thing. Um, and pirates are dope. Pirates are always cool. They always will be. And like just tells that story and runs with it. Um, Even in the later games where we are now with the shift that they've made with Origins and Odyssey
Or
and Valhalla.
Origins specifically was great. And what's also cool about them shifting time periods so much is that you have to shift some of your gameplay and such. Although
Yeah.
they're pretty consistent with their gameplay, but it's different because they keep in mind different fighting styles, different utilities, different weapons.
Yeah.
So again, like in 3, there's guns. There's a consistency of guns. While back in the Ezio trilogy, they are just finding out about guns. So then you
Yeah.
have there's like one or two here and there, whatever. And then you have a shit ton of guns, and then you go to Origins, and it's
There's
all like,
none.
yeah,
There's none. It actually, in the newest trilogy of games, there's none.
yeah,
They weren't. This stuff wasn't invented. These games take place even further back in time than the original games did. Uh, and then you get more gunplay in something like Syndicate, where you get even more modern than you know even further ahead in time than we were in Assassin's Creed 3.
yeah. And speaking of modern, the best part of these games when they first came out was that they were all different. Obviously, Ezio was one guy, Altair was another guy, Connor was another guy. Um, all different, but connected through the same person.
Yep.
Desmond, the guy that started it all. You're going, playing through Desmond's memories, well, his ancestors' memories through Desmond. Um, fantastic, and it was fantastic storytelling for him. Another reason why I love 3, which I hate that it was the end of Desmond's story, but it was a
Unfortunately.
great ending for him. We got a the most gameplay we've ever gotten with him. So it takes a little
Yeah.
bit into modern day, where you have him sneaking around into different places and stuff, and he goes into the cave, and you get to do parkour with Desmond throughout the cave and such like that. Um, so yeah, just he was, the guy that started it all, and even Black Flag still rolls
It
around
had a modern
him.
day setting. It was about Desmond. It was them using Abstergo was using
Yeah,
his DNA that they had on file still.
yeah,
Honestly, the concept is so unique and it's such a cool concept of hey, you have your ancestors' memories within you. And the idea that like animals already have this, right? Birds automatically know to fly south for the winter. Like
mm,
turtles being born on the beach, babies, their parents aren't around. All of them know to just go to the ocean as soon as they get out of their shells. Like this idea of, you know, knowledge just being within us and how do we access that and what can we do with that knowledge if we go back and we learn the skills that our ancestors actually learned. It's such an amazing concept and look how much is exploded. Like the possibilities are limitless with just that concept, and we've seen it and we're continuing to see it now with the announcements they just made.
yeah. I mean, Assassin's Creed again, 15 years. I don't even think I could count off the top of my head how many games it's been within that many years, the amount of quality games. And now they're taking it up to an absolute new level.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, the next game we're getting is Assassin's Creed Mirage. You're taking over a character that we actually got introduced to in Valhalla, set 20 years before that game. And it's actually a return to the roots of Assassin's Creed. If you've seen the trailer, it looks to be a return to that stealth and uh, not that there's anything wrong with the new trilogy and the RPG elements they've added, but I am excited to go back and like just hide in plain sight and like stealth my way through this game instead of, brawling all the time. The
Yeah.
combat is still fun, but how often do you use the hidden blade in the new games versus like
Nah,
in the
back then
original?
you're going up to everybody. Shink.
Yep,
Shink.
everything was the hidden blade. So I can't wait to get back into that. Uh, and a lot of the announcements they made too with their new hub that they're introducing, Assassin's Creed Infinity, they want to be able to do that. They don't want every game now to be a 150-hour RPG that you're, sinking your teeth into. They want to have these other projects that are different and explore other, gameplay modes and other time periods and stuff without forcing you to have to put 150 hours in, but you still can if you want to.
Yeah. It's again, it's gonna be next level for them. I mean, we always got different types of cultures and different things that we always want to see. I know you mentioned their first announcement, their first hub was feudal Japan,
Yes, yes. Feudal
which
Japan is going to
you've been
be,
begging for since we started playing Assassin's Creed. Um, so that is going to be so dope because in the beginning, it's different time periods, but it's that Europe, US, we get all of that. It's not
yep,
too different. They're and so they really didn't really stray away from that until again like Origins and Valhalla, where it is a very different type of culture set, to the extreme. Feudal Japan is definitely to the extreme,
yeah,
for a different culture set. So that's gonna be so interesting how they're gonna play within that. Show how the assassins are over there compared to also here because there wasn't that kind of travel there. So I think that's gonna be really interesting. And the thing that I'd be most excited about, which is so amazing for these games, and it keeps getting better because they kind of go on and off depending on what game you're playing, but the customization of the cloaks.
yeah,
Now each game the cloaks are different based upon where they are and when they are. Um I believe that at the end of the Ezio trilogy they had a really good customization uh by the third game, I believe.
in
And then
Revelations, yeah,
yes, and then the one with the twins, the French Revolution.
The Twins was Syndicate. The French Revolution was
Syndicate.
Unity.
Yes. Yeah. Syndicate. They also had a really good cloak customization there as well. Um, but then again, all those different styles and stuff. Now that you're gonna have this hub where all these different, time periods are gonna be coming together. I don't know how they're gonna do it, if you're gonna be able to cross between them to for the cloak styles and whatnot.
So from what they're saying, my understanding of it, like just from the explanation they've been given, uh, it's going to evolve. But Assassin's Creed Infinity is going to be a hub. So if you were to buy the next game, Assassin's Creed Project Red, right now is what they're calling it, the feudal Japan one. When you launch it up, Assassin's Creed Infinity is going to pop up as your hub when you launch the game, right? It's still a standalone game. You're still buying, Red, and it comes up and it's almost like a Animus terminal. So they
Mhm.
are actually dropping. You're going to be upset about this. They're dropping the modern day setting. There's no more modern day character. They want people to be able to jump into this game without having to know who Desmond or Layla are. So they're making you the person using the animus. It's your ancestors. It's your story that you're kind of going through. So the modern day setting is kind of constantly there. But when you launch, this feudal Japan game, there's going to be a little thing in the corner that says Assassin's Creed Hexy, which is the other game that's launching launching at the same time, but it's going to be like a memory fragment. Do you want to play this and unlock that? And you can pay and then own that game, and then you can go and you play that game. So it's like a hub that but they said that it's going to evolve. It's not going to stay that way. So we may get an actual physical avatar for the modern day setting eventually.
Which
But
I hope so. But even saying that we're not getting a character modern day avatar, I don't think that completely rules it out yet.
yeah,
Because if you think about for Assassins for Black Flag, uh, you don't have a name to your face.
no,
You're
you
a
just walk around
person.
in third person.
Yeah, you're in a person in Abstergo going through the animus. So in reality, they're trying to make you feel like you are you. They could do that again, but make it a full game. For those of you guys that might not know what we're talking about, because we kind of just jumped into a conversation that we've had before. Um, I always loved in Assassin's Creed 3 playing as Desmond in modern day. And I do think that Assassin's Creed can work his modern day game, being a modern person, going against, sky, like doing parkour across skyscrapers, and going into buildings and then you have to be sneaky because you're taking down guys with machine guns, and that whole sneak element. I feel like it would work really well to turn that into an entire game. So that's what we're referring to right there, because that's really what I've been looking forward to and what I've been asking for. Doing a full character customization, putting it modern day,
Well, and
and giving us that.
I think that it is possible, and I think you're right. I think if they want players to feel like you are the person that's going through these memories and everything, yeah, give us a third person protagonist in the modern day that we get to walk around, and maybe it starts off as simple as I told you, even in Assassin's Creed 1, all you did was walk from your little room where you were being held
Yeah.
hostage over to the bench for the animus. And I love that. You could simply just make it an apartment or a room that you yourself are walking around, and then you go and you sit down and you plug in, and now all of a sudden you're in the animus again and you go through a new memory. You either go back into what you were doing with the feudal Japan, or you jump into Hexy, which is supposed to be this during the Roman time and about witch hunts and everything. And it looks darker, it looks more supernatural. Okay, great. You get to go through another ancestor, and that's just going to keep expanding. What other time periods do we do next? Where do we go? The possibilities are limitless. We've had a lot of games, but there's a lot of human history left to tell.
Yeah, definitely a lot. And again, I love them going older because obviously that's what they did for Origins and Valhalla. They just, because before they had to do a progression. It had to get newer and newer
Yep.
because they followed a certain character and they were looking for certain artifacts, because that's how Desmond's story started out. Where's the apple of Eden? Oh, Altair knows where it is. Okay, Altair put it somewhere else. Okay, Ezio knows where it is. Well, now Connor knows
Yep.
where it is, et cetera, et cetera. oh well, we still didn't get the answer. So what about in Black Flag? And that's just how it went on. So the progression was only from one ancestor to the very next one. Um,
Yeah.
but they kept going forward. But then since they got rid of that human element, now they went all the way back. Like, let's just tell the origins. Like, this is a totally different story now. Um, so I think, but I would want them to time jump. I want to play a game that's old, but then I want to go to one that's even newer. I know we talked about this, putting them in like a World War setting. I mean, I don't think it
Yeah.
doesn't work for modern day wars. Um, Again, it would be a completely different type of game because I think you would have more of that spy kind of aspect to it, to where you have to sneak around a lot
Yeah.
more because there's modern day weapons that will gun you down in a heartbeat. Um, so I think there is that element to it, but I do think it still could work really
I mean,
well.
I think they've shown that they can do it. In Assassin's Creed Unity, you get those like time rifts across France, and there's that one time rift you go into, and you're climbing the Eiffel Tower, and then you
Yeah,
hop on a gun and you're shooting down planes, and it's set during the World War, and that I think that little segment, that little part shows that they can do this. You could make a full game of this, and it can totally work as a spy game. And that's how you explain it. That's why you explain why your character doesn't pull out a machine gun and is just mowing through people, because you're a spy and you're trying to do this the stealthy way.
yeah,
There's a lot that they could do. Um, I told you one of my favorite I think they should do. It's kind of close to Assassin's Creed 3. It would definitely be beforehand the Spanish Inquisition. Going
mm,
having that, but playing from the perspective similar to 3 of like somebody from the Aztec Empire, or somebody that was, from the Mayan civilization, and you're playing as them going through this European invasion. Um, I think that would be awesome.
yeah, and I think perspective for them is really going to be a cool thing,
Yeah,
since they have a lot more opportunity to pump out more games, to do more things, to
yeah,
have all that interconnected, to give more stories. um I think that's going to be a big thing for them, because even if you give me some of the same time periods, but you give me a different type of person that has different stories to tell, there's nothing wrong with that.
yeah,
So again, let's say, we fast forward even more, and we're in the times of slavery. What if you give me a black man that was rescued by the assassins, and he is brought into, and then is raised and taught and to become this assassin and everything? Giving those perspectives of different types of characters all throughout history, I think would be amazing. And now again, some of these time periods overlap with each other, but if you're giving me a different story, I don't mind, you know?
yeah. No, and it's true. I mean, even look, we've had one game about American history, and that was the beginning of it. You know, like
Yeah,
you said. I
and
mean,
there's so much more we can do too. Again, like I said, we can go through,
the
put
Civil
some,
War is
yeah,
another.
Civil
It's
War, put
it's
somebody in the South. We
modern,
could
but
go all the
not.
way to the Wild West. That would
Yeah,
be sick. Could you
cowboys.
imagine? Could you imagine the cloaks we could get from the Wild West?
That would be dope. And even the gunplay there,
Yeah,
you're not doing machine guns. You're using a 6 shooter. You know,
yeah,
like uh, that would be dope. Like a Bonnie and Clyde type
yeah.
like storyline too. Yeah, yeah.
I
The
think, see, there's so
the
many things they can
the
do.
creation of the railroad, and like, but even then, Assassin's Creed, that team at Ubisoft, they're so keen on making sure when we're talking about the heritage of these people around the world and the religious beliefs of the time and like they make sure that everything is accurate and everything is on point because they know how important it is. And representation matters at the end of the day. We've talked about this before, and Assassin's Creed definitely lands that representation. But going like going back the railroad, building that, right? How much racism existed on the minority groups that built the railroad across this country? You know,
Yeah,
they
that's
they could tell that and handle that and be fucking amazing.
I 100% agree with that. Again, and we're just talking about, we just gave two stories just from American history, which is the most recent major country. And so they have the least technically amount of history to us, and they
Yeah.
already have great stories to us. And we're not even saying getting into the super modern, which I think we can have even more of, getting into the World War I, World War II, getting into Vietnam, which I think would be super cool. Some guerrilla warfare shit would be so dope. Doing parkour through the jungles and stuff like that would be
Well, even
awesome.
something like the Cold War, just generally,
Yeah,
you know?
which that again, using spy thriller
Yeah.
as your genre for that one works works completely fine. Um,
Yep. There's the possibilities again, the setup and the idea that they came up with when they first created this series, literally endless possibilities for where they could go and what they can do. Um, and I like it. It's always so exciting when a new Assassin's Creed game comes out. It's always exciting. Like, what are we gonna do? Where are we gonna go? And like, who are we gonna see? That's the other thing. Are we gonna see Leonardo da Vinci or
yeah,
and seeing those characters is always fun. You know, so it's and even the newest games, they've really leaned into even like the mythology because they're older. Um,
well, it's also funny too because when you think about the whole premise of the games too, has this mystic sci-fi
yeah,
element to it that you don't even realize when you're playing it because you're going through history and all this stuff. Obviously, the Animus itself is all types of sci-fi because that's not something that really exists.
yeah.
But
Unfortunately,
the entire first 5 games, well, even kind of Black Flag as well, is about finding the apple,
yeah.
finding
And these other
Eden.
pieces of Eden,
So there's that whole big mystical element that you don't even realize that you're playing through, and it's great because yeah, at the end of 3, like Desmond like meets a god, like
Minerva. Well,
yeah,
and even what's super interesting too, and it's funny because Assassin's Creed also like pokes fun at and embraces just not only ancient history and the stories they're telling, but what we're going through in modern times and the reality of it. Because the whole point of what they were trying to avoid and stop in the third by the time of the third game was 2012. That's when it takes place. That's the year of the modern day setting in Assassin's Creed 3. They're
mm,
trying to stop the end of the world that everyone thought was going to happen in 2012, right? And like they worked that into the plot, and that's so cool. And yeah, there's this mystical godlike element, but even the gods are kind of like sci-fi-ish,
yeah,
and it's cool. And I kind of miss some of that story stuff that they dropped.
yeah, and like it's cool because you didn't realize it. I didn't feel like I was going through all these trials and tribulations with gods and mystics and all this stuff.
Right, it was a
I was
background
just
thing.
yeah, but it was the main story. It was that's really what
Yeah.
the whole games were for, and you didn't even realize it because you got so absorbed into the story that you were going through in the Animus to even really worry about what's going on outside of it.
Yeah. There is another thing that they said they are working on, and it will end up being a part of the new hub, is multiplayer. They want to bring multiplayer back to Assassin's Creed. That kind of, and they didn't say how it would be. They didn't say if it was going to be like a versus thing or just you being able to interact with other players, but being able to interconnect all of the games in this multiplayer way. And I think that could be really cool. I don't really know what form it's going to take, but just hearing about it, I'm excited.
No, I think it'd be really cool, especially in the way if they set it up kind of like you have the ability to do actual missions together. Like a versus thing would be cool, especially like maybe in like a Roman Coliseum when they do
Yeah.
the hex, that would be dope.
Especially with the way that like combat is now in the games. Yeah.
Yeah. But at the same time, yo, if I'm in feudal Japan with the whole fucking troop full of my boys as ninjas running across the rooftops
That'd be
to do
dope.
this mission, it'd be cool. And I think it could bring a whole new element. Like you're with your friends on your mics on a stealth game, which
Well, and
isn't
and that's
common.
that's the other thing too. Like, yes, the assassins, they when you play the games, they work alone, right? But at the same time, they don't.
You
It's a
work with other
brotherhood.
assassins as
It's a
well.
brotherhood.
There's been plenty of times where you work with other assassins. It's not
Yeah.
consistent at all, but it happens.
Yeah.
But to have it in multiplayer would be even greater. again, just having kind of like doing missions together, or having like a raid style kind of thing where you guys all
Oh,
go
that
in
would be
and
cool.
finish a mission. Yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
um things like that would be awesome.
I think the last big thing that they announced for Assassin's Creed was Ubisoft has made a deal with Netflix, and Netflix will be doing a Assassin's Creed series. Um, I pray that we don't get something like the movie. Um, we'll just pretend like it never happened.
Oh my god,
Um,
I wish
you know
I
what?
wish it never did. I remember I
Let's.
saw that in theaters because I was so
So did
excited,
I.
and
So did I.
I have never been so let down.
You
That's
know
a
what? We
lie.
didn't talk. We did. It's one we forgot to mention when we were talking about Percy Jackson. Your favorite series could be adapted, and it'd be awful. It's real. It's
It's
scary, and it can
yeah,
happen,
yeah, it's
and it
terrible.
has.
Yeah,
Um,
and
they
it's
didn't
not a
have
good
any.
feeling.
No, not at all. Not at all. Um, they haven't announced any details. We don't know if they're going to be like adapting, the one of the games, or if they're going to be telling an original story. I think even an original story still works. It doesn't have to be an adaptation of one of the games. It would be super cool if they did Desmond's story.
Yeah, I was gonna
Um,
say if it's anybody other than Desmond, I mean, original could be cool, but come on, Desmond's story brought into live action.
yeah,
That's
no, I
that's
agree.
I just don't think there's any other route that you should go. I
True.
think I think if it's successful, then you go another route once that story is told. But
Yeah,
you have to start where it all started. Because like, especially I don't see Assassin's Creed getting built up to this whole big mythos type of thing where there's different medias and mediums throwing out different stories and such like that. The games are the games, and I want to see the show mainly just do more adaptations from the game.
well, and if the show isn't canon to the games, they can even you don't have to keep the ending that we had in 3. You can continue Desmond's story and branch off even more. You don't. And the other thing is too, you can. It's an adaptation. You don't have to stick to, oh, he's only doing Altair for 3 seasons or even one full season. You can bounce around, because if Abstergo is holding him and
Yeah,
looking for this
he's in
information,
the Animus, so you can go
they're
wherever
gonna
you
access
want.
all these memories. So, and that might be even cooler. I mean, you'd get a show like you could really do something like Sense8, like how Sense8 was around the world, all the like each episode you were all over the place. You could do the same thing with Assassin's Creed, and but all around the world and across time,
That's true. That could be a good thing.
and
However,
you get a much bigger cast of characters.
yeah, I just don't feel like I would get the in depth that I'd want. Like I said, I would more be looking towards an adaptation, specifically Desmond. And again, the most exciting one would be the parts of it that are Ezio. We just talked about the amazing
Yeah,
storytelling that came from that. Um, which is cool, and you love seeing it through games because you're playing as that character and such, but it does hit different on screen when you don't have to take those breaks from the story to actually play through the game and do all the action sequences. When you can just sit there and just watch that story unfold, I think it could come out beautifully. But when you mentioned 3, I will say, even though 3 is my favorite game, the one thing I did not like was the ending, when like one, you go through that fever dream talking to the god, and then
yeah,
you just disappear. You are now just dead. Like that was
yeah,
it. I was
yeah.
like, this sucks. I still love the game because I think it's the best one. But I was like, how is this how you're gonna end Desmond's story? I hate this.
I, as a whole, I'm super excited for just the continuation of Assassin's Creed. I've been on board for 15 years, and I remember introducing you to the series and bringing you into it, and you instantly falling in love and like jumping back to like the original, and playing through that. And like my love for the series hasn't died, even when we had buggy games or
Yeah.
glitchy things. I at no point have I ever said I'm dropping Assassin's Creed. I'm done with this.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, whether those games are technically perfect or technically amazing, at the end of the day, they're still fun.
Yeah,
No matter what, they're still fun. There's certain game series that no matter what that game is, it's still fun. And again, Assassin's Creed taking that approach with history and giving you all those fun moments with the characters is just fun. And their gameplay is phenomenal. The gameplay that Assassin's Creed has adapted is amazing. I can only list a short list of game series that can give me maybe not amazing games that I still love to play. So, and they're definitely the top of that list.
Yeah, and I can't wait to see just how they continue to expand it and to see how this new, Infinity Hub evolves. It so far it sounds good. It sounds great, and I'm here for it. I've been in it for too long to jump ship now. I'm in it for the long run.
Oh no! I mean, as soon as it drops, it's the first thing I'm doing. Like, you
Yeah,
can't not. Again, especially feudal Japan. That's such a banger to start with.
yeah, it really is. It really is. But on that note, I think that's everything we have for you guys on Assassin's Creed right now. So thank you for listening and tune in next time.